High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live from LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Instagram. That's right. We're bringing X back now in 2026. It's Revening's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday, Revenue Party people. It's 2026, big time. Would love to hear from those of you in the comments. If you're here, let us know by dropping a hello or letting us know where you're tuning in from, or let us know what it is you do. And what brought you here tonight? Are you a marketer? Are you a seller? We want to know. Let us know you're here. Keep us honest throughout the night. Leave your questions, comments. This is for you who's watching. But quick pause, because if you're watching this, you already know that visibility matters. So at Reventing, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. A live stream just like this one right here on LinkedIn that you're able to gate. And not just for the content's sake. We don't just press go live every Wednesday or when we go live with our clients. We handle the strategy, the setup, the production, the intro video you just saw. All of it comes together on one show. And we do that as a flagship here on our own show. And this is where it all started. But now we're helping a number of other businesses do the same thing. And then we repurpose it and we distribute it to help businesses have their own they have their owned, not earned media. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on this episode. But one live stream turns into a podcast. It turns into a social clip. It turns into email content like a newsletter and actual sales conversations. So you have people showing up who are listening. They want to learn more. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, this is what we do. We step in, we help you. We help you by going live and then repurposing that, learning your voice, taking the transcript from those shows, and learning your voice so we can make more posts as you for you. And, live streaming, it's not just a trend right now. With the rise of AI, live streaming is going to become the only way that humans are talking real time with businesses. And we see it differently on different platforms. But here on LinkedIn, it's really serving B2B businesses. And that's what we're here helping businesses do. So it's really the fastest way to build authority and get leads that convert in real time. And we've been doing this every single week long before it was popular. So we're going now into the 4th year of WinsDay going live, which is just crazy to even say. And now we're helping other businesses do it. So if you're ready to stop hiding and you're ready to start showing up like a real leader, and you're a real leader, if you're watching this, you know you're ready to start doing this too. Just head on over to reviting.com and let's build your show. And that's enough about Reviting. Real quick, I want to give a brief hello to everyone chiming in from the comments. We've got Daniel. Hey, Scott. I don't know who else is there, but let us know. Let us know you're here by just saying hello, what it is you do. If you're just tuning in, keep us honest tonight. We want to hear from you. What do you do for a living? How can we keep this relevant for you? Um, but anyway, yes, I digress. We want to tell you a little bit about Cherry Assistant. So, I couldn't do any of this scaling Reviting without Cherry Assistant. And being a leader means delegating. Yes, passing over what you do to someone else, teaching someone else, empowering someone else. And you should be doing that too. And if you need help finding someone, there's someone around the globe somewhere with the skills, the language that you're needing specifically. Maybe it's not someone who produces live streams. Maybe it's a bookkeeper, or maybe it's an executive assistant. Whoever they are, just scan that QR code and Cherry Assistant will help you find them. They'll place you with a virtual assistant with the skills you need. And just stay tuned during the intermission. We'll tell you more about them. And also, quick mention of High Level. So if you go to reviting.com/high level, that's my affiliate link to try it out. But it's a full CRM and marketing automation platform. We use the agency version. So when you sign up with us and do a live streaming service with us, then you get an app.reviting.com account. That way, all the leads we're bringing in, we can just give you right into a CRM if you don't already have one, or integrate it with yours. But yeah, check out High Level if you haven't already. No need to break the bank with like technology like that anymore. Anyway, let's get into this show because we have some great guests. So I want to bring on our first guest of our 2026 episode. Welcome to WinsDay. We've got Jennifer Galbraith and Mohammed. I should have asked you both how to say your last names. Nagori is how I read it, but if I mentioned either of those incorrectly, please correct me. But welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, and you pronounced it perfectly. Better than
Okay.
some locals, I may add.
Nice. Glad to hear that. Okay, good to hear. Well, we want to know more about both of you before we get into our awesome conversation we have planned for today. I mean, we're going to be talking about earned media optimization. I was talking about owned media. Earned media is a whole other thing, which I love as well. State of B2B event marketing. We've got story brand soundbite strategy, and then the psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing. So these are really great topics. But before we really get into them, like, tell us more about you, because everyone listening is going to be, listening to you. So we want to know your background, and in good old fashioned WinsDay style, we want to know everything about you from birth to what brought you to now in 2 minutes. So what do you think, Mohammed? Could you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jesse, for inviting me over. And yeah, we'll try to do justice to summarize what brought me, till this point. When we're studying, we're growing up, we never really know, what we're gonna do. I probably wanted to do medicine for a bit. My father being a doctor and all, but let's say life didn't have that plan for me. I moved towards marketing. I had a real knack for it, not before I actually had a bit more knack for finance. So I've been all over the place, really. But when I joined marketing, it was first in a pharmaceutical company, trying to invite doctors for events and collaboration. And it was really interesting. But then I moved on to sales, and where we co-founded Cloud Lead. Following that, I spent like about good 6-7 years at Cloud Lead, still worked there as a co-founder, but now I'm in a B2B event marketing company called ConvergeX Connections and lead marketing here. And a very exciting field, and just you always learn something new. Who knew, in the AI era and whatnot, we'll be witnessing in this day and age, we'll get to play with strategies we never thought were possible, and bring us back to the basics. Something probably we'll be, of course, covering with story events and the psychology bit. So very excited to be here, and excited to kick 2026 off with this first event.
Absolutely. Yeah. And excited to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about yourself and what brought you to now. Jennifer, we'd love to hear the same for you. Could you fill us in on your story from birth to what brought you to now?
Sure, Jesse. I'll skip past some of the initial years, but yeah, I have been doing marketing for about 20 years and have marketed everything from tourism, airports, hotels, service-based industries. And I started out on the agency side in Orlando, just out of college, working as an intern and then working full-time at a mid-level agency there with medium-sized clients. Then went on to work for a large hotel chain representing a lot of their luxury properties. As I was working with them, I learned about the Tourism and Convention Bureau. So I went on to work for the Tourism and Convention Bureau, later the Economic Development Agency, and then just over a decade or so ago, decided to start my own PR agency. And that is so exciting right now, especially with everything happening in AI. And so work with a lot of different clients, really looking at what the media says about them instead of what they just say about themselves. And really have a lot of fun doing that because one of the things I've always enjoyed is being able to partner a company with a nonprofit or a cause. So many times in my business, I'm able to do that as well. So really looking forward to this conversation, to sharing some of my backstory and hearing more from you as well. So, wow, I wrapped up and I still have 38 seconds left. So I'll go back to you, Jesse.
Not uncommon. Yeah, we see that a lot. People can like do their pitch in like a minute or less. I'm always super impressed, but you know that we have impressive people on the show. So thank you both for being here. I'm really excited to get into these topics, especially earned media optimization. I started my career in politics. It was in press. I was the a press assistant for Senator Durbin in the Capitol building, and we would, scour all the newspapers about all the mentions of him, make sure everybody was aware of them, and then they were like, doing all these pitches anyway. It was always amazing to me back then how we could write a press release and the newspaper would just copy and paste it in our own words, no bias at all, of course, and they would put it right in the newspaper and publish it. um, and then, I got into business and press there, and we would put things on the wire, and, we'd get a lot of activity back then. And I'm talking about like 2006. And so, like, things have changed a lot in PR over time, and it looks different now. And so it's always so interesting for me to talk to people about earned media. Obviously, based on what I do is helping businesses build their own media, but there is an earned media component to that, like bringing on guests, or there's some earned part about it, I suppose, if you look at it that way. But um, Jennifer, could you kick us off on this and talk to us about what is earned media in 2026, and what is some actionable advice people can take moving forward with earned media optimization this year?
Sure. I mean, I think earned media is the same as it's always been in terms of what it is. So it's what people are saying about you instead of what you're saying about yourself. So you have the content that's on your website, you have the content that's in your advertising that you pay for. And I think right now, a lot of people are really thinking about all the great AI tools, just like I am as well. And how do I use AI for what I want to say about my company, my brand within my website or within my marketing materials? And that's wonderful. It's such a wonderful tool for that. And I'm using it that way myself. But one of the things that's fascinating for me as a PR professional is that, like you were just mentioning, Jesse, we aren't just sending out a press release. And sometimes I joke with clients and say PR does not stand for press release. Press releases are still very important, especially on the wire, and it helps with your optimization and your AI strategy. But what I think is really interesting now is it's really about looking at what people are searching and really just how the landscape is changing. I think as PR professionals, we've always been changing with the landscape, but it's rapidly changing now. And so now with generative AI and with the large language models, we need to be looking at how do we want to position ourselves and our companies And in order to do that, we have to realize that it's not just what we're speaking directly to the end user for, but we now have AI capability where machines are actually going to be making or are making buying decisions. So one of the things that I find fascinating about the need to have an earned media optimization strategy is that you really have an opportunity right now. If you are in the media regularly and other people are saying the things about you that you want, how you want to position your brand, you have an opportunity to show up in the AI searches. So it used to be all about SEO and ranking. Well, now on a lot of the pages, you're seeing that it's the AI overview and then the links are coming below. So we want to make sure that we're getting out there and we're getting earned media coverage. Otherwise, we're invisible.
Yeah, definitely. And I loved your initial explanation of what earned media was, like what others are saying about you and not just what you're saying about yourself. So good. What's your take on all of this, Mohammed?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with Jennifer on this point that like I think it's really it's a real aspect that helps you cut through the noise. PR has always been a neutral perspective, and I think in the day of AI, it's going to be even more relevant where people are looking for authenticity and not just recycled information that they find on some AI. Like even when they're conversing or taking advice from any AI tool for that matter. So I think this is the day and age where earned media is at its peak actually, and authenticity is going to really help cut through the noise. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the one misconception that I think businesses, if they haven't gotten over it yet, would be, writing a press release isn't going to land you in TechCrunch, or hiring a PR agency isn't going to land you in the Wall Street Journal. Just because they have that relationship doesn't mean that that person is going to want your information. You still need to build credibility. But I'm curious, what's your take on any of that, Jennifer? And could you wrap us up on the earned media optimization as well?
Yeah, to piggyback on what both of you were saying, I think we're really in a trust recession right now.
Mhm.
AI is so exciting, but also people are regularly looking, going, okay, where is the real information? And I think in the media, that is one place where we really do have authenticity. And when someone else is talking about you, that third party credibility is so important. And I think, when you're looking at the large language models and what they are sourcing, they are rewarding authenticity, and they are looking for not just not just the articles that you're getting in the higher level publications, but they're also looking that people are talking about you regularly from a number of different kinds of sources.
Yeah, definitely. Such a great point. Well, let's move into our next topic because I could talk all day about earned media, the state of B2B event marketing, another topic near and dear to my heart. Obviously, we help somewhat with event marketing. We're doing online events for ourselves and others, not in person. I'm curious with the state of B2B event marketing, Muhammad, what is the state of B2B versus in person? And what do we need to know about 2026 with event marketing?
Absolutely, it's a pressing question indeed with all these acquisitions we see, running around. Like it's interesting. When we saw that, emergence of cold email initially, people were all chasing, like, oh, personalization and relevance at scale, and that was great until everyone started doing it, right? The same kind of goes with events. I think in this day and age, those mass, slightly unfocused conferences, they can be relevant, but it's how good are they at cutting through the noise again and getting you, engaged. So what is the state then? The state of B2B event marketing, what we're seeing, like enterprises, they're looking, instead of hosting one giant event only, they would look to diversify. and potentially, host smaller micro events, be it dinners, be it virtual panels, inviting C-suite, more strategic level focused events that are focusing not only on a broad, like maybe a customer success topic in general, and then focusing on various subtopics. No, we're looking at like pain point focused event, or a dinner focused on some very strategic high level a topic. And this is a clear example, like, like, I mean, the way one influencer I do follow personally as well is Julius Solaris. I mean, he's been in the B2B event industry for I don't know how long, but I've been in this space for like a good 1.5 years now. And a lot of his points regarding micro personalized events really resonates, because I think they really resonate also with the person who's attending, because attendees raise the bar. It's not just those who are organizing event, it's also those who are attending. They want more relevant, something they can engage with and walk away with meaningful connections. That's what we want at the end of the day. When we're walking out of an event, we don't want to go empty handed. I'm not talking about the bags or goodies here. I'm talking about like the connections, the networking. That value you get is invaluable, so to speak. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, great thoughts. And I like what you're saying about micro events and dinners around pain points. That's interesting. Um, yeah, I am seeing on LinkedIn a lot of those types of micro events. I'm curious, Jennifer, we don't have not a press release, but what was it when you would get together? A press conference. We don't have press conferences anymore. But we do have micro events. Like, I'm curious, what's your take on micro events?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It goes back to this authenticity. I mean, people want to connect with real people. We don't want to be in a world where it's just AI chatbots talking to AI chatbots. We want to communicate in earned media to the places where people are searching, but we really do still want to communicate with the real humans. And even in public relations, I mean, I'm using all of the AI tools, but on the platforms where I'm pitching, there's no AI being used. There's real contact with real people, and they want real content from our clients. So I think, just like it's important for that, I think it's important for the events as well.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I've been to some big trade shows and I've been to some small trade shows, and I think some of the best, and I guess the smaller ones wouldn't even really be trade shows, be a little more like learning experiences. I had like a couple hundred people, and they'd have opportunities to break into smaller groups where you can actually like have real conversations with people. So I do think there's something to be said about that. I'd love to hear from people in the comments. I do see we've got, 5 of you on the Reveting YouTube. We've got 2 of you on my YouTube. We've got 4 of you on Twitter, 1 of you on Twitch, and I don't know how many on LinkedIn, but if you're here, drop a comment and let us know, what do you think about event marketing in 2026 and everything we're saying? And also, what do you think about earned media? We were talking about that a little bit earlier. But Mohammed, could you wrap us up a little bit as we move on in terms of the state of B2B event marketing and what more we need to know, or what you would reiterate for us to move forward and
Absolutely.
some actionable advice?
Absolutely. I think it's going to play a real crucial part in enterprise ABM strategies. And it all ties back into how well, we tie it into the accounts you want to target, and how relevant you want to plan that event for that audience. It's going to be the future is how relevant you make it to that specific focus group of people rather than the masses. So and you can tie in your ABM strategy, your entire with the event strategy in mind, and of course the results are phenomenal. It's old school, but that's, I think that's what AI is kind of focusing or helping us focus towards, in the future and upcoming years. So yeah.
100%. Well, we've got two more really great topics we're going to be getting into. We've got story brand and psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing. And we're going to be getting to that right after this brief message from Cherry Assistant.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Gulf High level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
If you are listening on podcast, we're showing a menu of services right now that they offer, including but not limited to lead generation, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, and project management assistance. Just scan that QR code or go to cherryassistant.com. If you meet with them, let them know that you heard about them through WinsDay for $250 off your first month with a virtual assistant. And I couldn't speak higher of them because I work with them every day. So definitely check it out. But let's get into our third topic, which is story brand soundbite strategy. Jennifer, what can you tell us about this? Oh, you're on mute.
That might help.
It does.
If you can't get off mute, you can't tell your story. Yeah, if you can't tell your story in 5 sound bites, your product is likely to fail. And so one of the interesting things is people spend so much money on marketing, but they try to be cute and clever instead of clear and concise. And if you are going to tell your story, you really have to focus on your client as the hero and as you being the guide to solve their problem, then lead them into a different place. And that's something we can talk about more. I don't know if you want me to keep going. So, okay, I wasn't sure if we wanted to do questions or if you want me to kind of keep talking about the story brand soundbite strategy.
I am curious, if you could give us more of a brief overview, I might have more questions. People in the audience, listen up if you have any questions about the story brand soundbite strategy, but I'm all ears.
Okay. Yeah, so the whole story brand framework was started by Donald Miller. A lot of people may have read his story brand book. It's a New York Times bestseller, and he's written a number of New York Times bestseller. And so I was certified as a guide for story brand. And one of the things we learned from their experience in working with Fortune 500 companies around the country is that a lot of people are trying to be the hero when they're telling the story about their brand, about their company, their organization. But really, it's about the problem that your audience is facing. And so with a soundbite strategy, it can be broken down into the acronym PEACE. And so the first thing is the P, that's the problem. And without the problem, there's no screenplay, there's no movie, there's no story. So what is the problem that your client is experiencing? And then the next is E for empathy. How do you say to them that you understand and you're coming alongside them to solve their problem? And the next is the answer. Why is your product the answer to their problem or your organization or whatever it is that you represent? Why is it the answer to their problem? Why does it help them not just to survive, but to thrive on a daily basis? And then the next that you're looking at is the change. How does your product change things? And then the last piece is the end result. And so at the end of working with you and your product, how did you come alongside them to make their life better? And so the idea of story brand and the soundbite strategy, it's really about curiosity, enlightenment, and commitment. And I think a lot of times when we're trying to do marketing, we just jump right to commitment. We want to ask someone to marry us before we've even been on a first date is a good example. And so there's got to be really that curiosity for what you do and how you solve their problem, how you can come alongside them. But it all starts with the problem. And then there's enlightenment. Okay, this could help me in my daily life. And then commitment to your product finally.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love the point about, I mean, really all of it, but being focused on not just the pain, but understanding that, really understanding the heart of your audience.
Yeah.
That's, one thing that in marketing, like you said, we get right to commitment, but we really need to like think about the other person first, and maybe turn inward a little bit. But what's your take on all this, Muhammad?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think empathy is a superpower. And combining that with being problem focused, that's a recipe that basically allows you to um, really ace any channel, be it PR or events or even cold email or whichever strategy you pick. But I think this methodology or strategy that Jennifer's message, talking about, it really allows one to, force themselves almost to think in the customer's, scenario, which is very important at the end of the day. And as marketeers and as people working in the industry, we kind of get lost, let's just say, and we need to focus and reroute ourselves back to the truth, and this is the truth, the customer's pain points, and being empathetic towards that. So I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Jennifer,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
That we talk about too with the messaging is cognitive load. And so many times we want to be clear, we want to be clever instead of being clear and concise. And, you're going to lose every day trying to be clear and, trying to be cute and clever. You need to be clear and concise. And they shouldn't have to burn too many calories to understand what you do. It should be very obvious, especially now when we're oversaturated with messages.
Jargon as well.
Yeah, no industry jargon. That's a definite.
No synergies.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't understand, your marketing strategy, who your audience is, what your message is, the no tactic is going to help you. But yeah, story brand and building an audience, I'd say you can build an audience first before you truly know what your offer or what your what you're doing at all. I built a brand and we started this show before we were monetizing it, before I started helping other shows do this. So like I don't know, it's just really important for everyone to start building a brand. And then for the businesses themselves, they need that story. And it's like the full elements that we learn about of stories, going back to grade school. It's like you need to have your characters, who's involved and what is their role? What are they known for? Who's the villain? What's the problem? And really build out that full story brand. But I do know there's a book, I believe you referenced it, Jennifer. Could you reference it again just for the audience that on story brand if they want to dig into it? And also just like wrap up the story on story brand soundbite strategy.
Definitely. Yeah. So building a story brand is one of the books, but if you just go to storybrand.com, you can see all of Donald Miller's books. He's also on LinkedIn as well. I think we're going to put that up in a little while as well. But I think just to reiterate on the soundbite strategy, I think the most important thing is just not to think of yourself as the hero. Donald Miller likes to say, the hero is kind of in a hole and you're the guide coming to offer a product to help them out of that hole. The hero of the story is the one with the problem and you are the guide to be able to help them with that problem. And if there's not a problem that you can help them with, then that's really not your audience anyway. So I think the thing I would leave you with is just don't try to be cute and clever, be clear and concise, and really focus on opening a narrative with the hero of your story, which is.
I think you said which is you, but I think it cut out. The hero of your story, which is you.
Yeah, so the hero of your story is your audience. I think too
Or
many
your audience.
Yeah, too many
Yeah,
times
that makes sense.
is that okay.
I think maybe there's just a little delay. I'm sorry. So I see Sarah Hanks in the comments. Hey, Sarah. She says it's a great book. I actually haven't read it, but I have heard about it before. People have told me I need to read it. I've heard uh what's Dave Gerhardt's book? That's the one I Founder Brand, but that's different than Story Brand. But yeah, I would love to hear from anyone else in the comments on what they think about that. But I think that's a great place to wrap up is make your audience the hero. And that's really good marketing all the time. Just being a good steward of your audience. I think, Muhammad, you used the word empathy earlier. Like, yes, exactly. We need to have a little more empathy for our audience. And so, all right, I'm going to move into our final topic, which is psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing. Talk to us about this, Muhammad.
Absolutely, my pleasure. The way I see this is that attention spans are, shortening, and of course, with all this overconsumption and overstimulation, frankly, as well, from a lot of content, that can be really, like hammering to the recipient ourselves. If we ask ourselves, we have the answer to it as well, that what really gets us to skip, like move beyond the subject line or move beyond the first 10 or 20 seconds of the video. So the real thing is, like I think, of course, generally content has to be, and it goes back to one thing that actually Jennifer also mentioned, to be clear and, concise as well. That's actually the trend. That's what's actually happening. And I think, of course, to get attention is to be clear, to be really to the point. And if you can, of course, repurpose content, it's good to have, those lengthy, long strategic reports. But I just think the new audience, the people that have access to so much information, you want to redistribute that content, make it bite-sized, like probably, something that you mentioned at the start of this. You're going to convert this into like an email or maybe a small video. And this is what we're going to look at. This is what we're going to see, like shorts of and bite-sized information. And it happens to any channel as well. It's not just limited to like PR or just events. It can happen to, like emails where people just kept saying, shorter, like let's just be precise or go super brevity. But at the end of the day, it's a debate, because there's no silver bullet. You can't just say that shorter is always the answer. There's always the room for, captivity, where you've got, like being, you were so relevant in the beginning and you resonated so well with that audience that you've earned the right to, get them to read the entire paragraph. That's beautiful. That's amazing. But does that always happen? In a marketeer's world, that's the dream, of course. But we also need to, of course, be, I'll use the word empathetic as well, again, in this scenario, that when we, regardless of, us being enthusiastic about B2B event marketing or whatever, I would like to receive the best piece of information as in the most digestible manner possible. If that could happen, then that's you've hit the nail. You're trying to like help your audience and make them the hero for a change, and that'll make all the difference. So yeah.
100%. I think that's the thing. The repeatable thing we're hearing is put the audience first. But what's your take on all of this, Jennifer?
Well, I love what you had to say about how you were mixed between the short content and the longer content. And I think that's really important to think about, because when we're first trying to get their attention, let's say it's as if you're at a house and they're just standing out in front of your house, it's the curiosity. And then they're on the steps to the house, and then that's the enlightenment. And then they're actually coming in and you're having the big long conversation and breaking bread with them. That's the commitment phase. So I don't think we can say that we shouldn't have long form content. Once we get to know our audience, they will most likely need it as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, long form content is bottom of the funnel content, we find. So people who are closer to buying, they're going to be more likely, or already bought, like you said, they're like your evangelists. They're going to be likely to continue to tune in, or listen to the podcast, or they have you on their channel somewhere where they're keeping up with it. So yeah, but you're right too. Like, we tell our clients this as well. We do social posting farms, so we'll see way more impressions on, say, like a selfie of you telling a story about yourself, and where we get to like close the trust gap with you a little bit, than on a live stream. But on the live stream on your company page, we can gate it and get 30 emails from it. So it's a little bit different than you have leads, people who came to a webinar, so to speak, or a LinkedIn Live, basically. Um, but yeah, it's interesting, long form content versus short form content. Also, most platforms appreciate when you use all of their features, be it like the video upload feature on LinkedIn when you're making a post. That's different than running an event. And so like you should use them all, and use the carousel and use all the different options. And then, Facebook, if that's where your audience is, they have different features as well. But anyway, I digress. I love this conversation about long form versus short form. I think we'll see a rise in YouTube, speaking of long form, in 2026. But I digress. Mohammed, in terms of this topic as a whole, psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing, which, man, we don't have any attention these days. It's so hard. I look at my like screen time on my phone and I shock myself sometimes, like, oh my gosh, I spent that much time on my phone. I do a lot of work on my phone though. So like it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people's attention. We all are like overloaded. What is that like final like bit of advice that you can inspire us with, that we all need to walk away with, going into 2026, the psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing?
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I look at it is that, and of course, learning from a lot of marketing leaders and trial and error, that always teaches us, of course, is that first you need to, like understand the buyer journey, your customers' buyer journey, and understand how attention is grasped possibly on each stage, because Jennifer mentioned something really important there as well, that that on probably on the bottom of funnel, of course, long form, and actually I think probably you mentioned that, but on the bottom of funnel content, long form goes well, and that's true, because at that point they've received so many bites of information from you, and they're now intrigued, now they're hooked, and they're but to get to that point, that's the thing, that's like the minority that managed to reach the bottom of the funnel stage. Because yeah, I know it's an old reference point, but it does shrink as people go down, because everyone's not going to be interested. So at the top of the funnel, like you would look at informational context towards what you solve and how you can help your client, potential client. But again, I would agree on, for at least our industry, it's always better in B2B to make it recycle it, in the sense to make it shorter, digestible. And yes, you earn actually the privilege to advance to long form content, be it videos, articles, and white papers, as that same audience gets more interested, and they become believers in what you do and what you can potentially solve for them. So that's my take on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our take on it. I agree with you to some point. People have short attention spans, so we need to make things shorter. You will see a smaller audience on the long form. So if your goal is to get a lot of views or a lot more attention, then the short form is going to be better. But those quality 5 people watching the live stream or 10 people or the other 20 that are going to catch it on Spotify, um, and they're going to listen to the full thing from start to finish, it's a little bit different than the 30,000 if you're lucky who see it on a post. But yeah, people take, I think, 30 to 40 impressions before they fully trust you these days. So you got to do everything. You can't just do one thing. But anyway, yeah, it's such an interesting topic. But thank you both for getting into these amazing topics with us. These were all really great. And still, audience, if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. What are your thoughts on these things we talked about? We talked about earned media. We talked about the state of B2B event marketing, story brand, and the psychology and attention in B2B sales and marketing. We want to know your thoughts. But in the meantime, we've got the guru of the week. Ooh, ooh. So drum roll, the guru of the week. If you could both tell us why you chose this person. We just ended up learning from you. So you clearly must have learned from these people something, and they must have inspired you in some way. Could you tell us why they're your guru of the week?
Yeah, so
Yes, sure.
go
Jennifer,
ahead.
please go ahead.
Yeah, so I chose Donald Miller, the CEO of Story Brand. I was certified as a Story Brand guide about 5 years ago, and I've just learned a tremendous amount from him on how to authentically tell a story for your audience, and very grateful to have had the opportunity to work with him over the last 5 years.
And from myself, with Nick Bennett, it's interesting in field marketing. I mean, when I joined this industry, the B2B event marketing industry, I noticed we don't see like a whole load of influencers and or a lot of thought leaders in the space, oddly. And Nick Bennett was a standout. Like naturally, when a marketeer joins, they want to learn from their customer base, their pain points, of course, but they want to also understand about, like the podcasts, thought leaders, influencers in that space, right? And Nick Bennett really stood out with his knowledge on ABM, field marketing, and yeah, that's why I've been following him for real non-generic advice on how to really tie in the whole, strategy. And it's not just treating events as a standalone or PR as a standalone, but strategizing everything together and making it tie it in, and potentially telling a beautiful story as well at the same time to your next best customer. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you both for sharing about your guru of the week. The guru of the week. Awesome. Love that segment. So good. But before we share about next week's episode, we'd still love to learn a little bit more about you. Could you both share a little bit more about who you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Mohammed, could you kick us off?
Absolutely. So I might have mentioned, of course, I lead marketing at ConvergeX Connections, and what we basically do is for enterprises or startups alike, we would potentially invite 14, 16 people to a dinner. These are not general, people, random attendees. You get the privilege to handpick an account list, share it with us, and we'll invite your top potential prospects to that dinner, help you curate the whole event, make it really relevant to that audience as a neutral party. Because hosting an event from your company you can do it, of course, always, but the differentiator is when we invite attendees as a neutral party, it can be a bit more diffusing. And it helps remove that trust gap a little more. So ConvergeX Connections, yeah, we would host these dinners for you, and also virtual panels. Unlike, of course, LinkedIn Lives or webinars, but these are more like 6 to 8 person, where C-levels or directors at enterprise organizations would come up and discuss a topic they can all agree on is a pain point or is relevant to their industry. So those human connections they walk away with, that's amazing. They all learn from each other, and the clients get a lot of people they can engage with in the long run for their enterprise sales strategy. You could reach us out, of course, on our website, www.convergexconnections.com, or reach us out on LinkedIn. Why not? We're always happy to talk event marketing or advise you either way, So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Mohammed. Appreciate you sharing that. And I love that you guys organize those types of dinners. So cool. Good to know. And Jennifer, could you tell us a little bit more about what it is you do and who you serve and how you serve them? And if they could be served by you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do with my clients is, first, I develop their story brand soundbite strategy for their communications plan. And then I develop an entire earned media optimization strategy. So I am then creating media profiles for them online. I am pitching them for regular stories and really starting to work on their earned media strategy from an AI standpoint so that they begin to show up in AI searches. And I can be found at alestramarketing.com. There's a contact form there, or it would be great to just connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message on LinkedIn as well.
That's so cool. I love how you tie in PR with their GEO, their generative AI optimization. What it is, it's engine optimization, generative engine optimization, GEO, it's called these days. There's other words for what they're calling it, but it's like SEO for AI. So cool that you're tying that to PR, because you're right. Getting placed in these other domains, the bots that crawl, and the AI now, not just Google, they rank you more when you have more credibility and you're appearing in more places. So cool. Thank you for sharing that, both of you. We have another really great episode with 2 more really excellent guests on next week. I hope you both can join, and everyone in the comments as well. But we've got Danielle Carter. She's the co-owner and CEO of Express It Delivery. And Andy Shagnish, she's the co-owner and co-CEO of, they're both with the same. Hey, I thought they were coming on different days, but they're coming on together. Amazing. I love that. I'm excited. So they'll both have a good synergy. So next episode should be interesting. But yeah, this was a really great episode as well. I love kicking it off with earned media and so much more. But thank you both for coming on the show. It was a great episode. And until next time, we're going to close out with an outro video. But thanks, Mohammed and Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Jennifer.
Happy New Year.